I don't hear no music though.
Not yet, not yet. I'm
Okay,
giving it a minute. Let
take
the
your
people
time.
come
Take your
in.
time. Take your
I
time.
just started it, so I'm letting the people come in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Y'all already know what it is, man. We got Chuck Morgan in the building. And listen, man, this is a long time coming. We had certain people that wanted to debate Chuck Morgan barking real loud and ain't saying nothing. When it was time to get in the ring, he was ghost. Even Unc said it earlier, he was ghost. And so now that he find out that Chuck just said, you know what, the hell with it, I'll do my presentation. Now he's running around going crazy, trying to get the debate, but it's too late. I told him it's too late now for that. You had the opportunity and you blew it. You know, you just was too busy running around clout chasing Jabari. And now look at what happened. It gets you nowhere. Gets you nowhere, brother. Clout chasing sometimes don't get you nothing. Clout chasing sometimes don't get you nothing. And so we're going to go on with the scheduled program and get it in. All right, the people look like they ready. Hit the like button. I mean, I hit the like button. Hit the like button. Let's go. Thumb it up.
Okay is the toughest environment. Before you come in, you gotta know who you're messing with. Okay is the toughest environment. You think you're ready, you think you're nice, it takes a high requirements. You gotta pay the price if you wanna survive this life. Put your heart on the line, no room for second guessing. Step into the ring and learn yourself a lesson. The pressure is heavy, it's sink or swim. Light hits the stage, but your shadow is dim. You came for the crown, but you're facing a king. No turning back when you step in the ring. Blood, sweat, and tears, yeah, we built from the grid. You talk about winning, now you ready to quit. So check your ambition before you walk off the HOK. Don't care what you say. The HOK is the toughest environment. Before you come in, you gotta know who you're messing with. Show us your source, let the truth be spoken. Words don't mean a thing when the trust is broken. You know how this works. I see you crying, I know it hurts. HOK is the toughest environment. Before you come in, you gotta know who you're messing with. HOK is the toughest environment. You think you're ready, you think you're nice, it takes a high requirement. You gotta pay the price if you wanna survive this life. HOK is the toughest environment. You think you're ready, you think you're nice, it takes a high requirement.
Check one.
Yeah. All right. We got Chuck Morgan in the building. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on, man?
Check one. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Hey,
All
talk
right.
to me, man. How did this come about, brother? Talk to me. How did all this come about?
Well, I was on Smash Rockwell show back in 2023 or around that time, and we was talking about one thing, and then I get a text message, well, a message in my Facebook thing, Messenger, um, asking me this or that, about Nuwabiya, and periodically I had seen it pop up in one of my groups, Nuwabianism discussion group on Facebook. And see, I deal with trolls from the cult all the time, So I usually put people on ignore because I find them irrelevant, So when people post things like that and they're saying that we're coming at, that's like the other dude that said they're gonna come to the website, they're gonna chop it up, blah blah blah, but nothing manifests. So I looked at the same as this is nothing. So as time progressed on this show, even if I'm just jumping the gun, but when you get back down to when I did the show on the Sumerians, you know, when the question session comes in, instead of dealing with that, they popped up talking about Nuwabiya, and that I'm running. Imagine that. That don't work with me. So, as you remember, I was having technical issues. So I couldn't hear everything that was being said. So when I hear people, I heard the young brother critiquing, saying that there was silence and this and then that, I was like, I'm ready to go now. That's how I am. I've been debating since the 90s. Talk radio every night, 6 hours. Ask he was there. If brother Apostle, I don't know, he's from DC. You remember Mo Better Man show? That was where I broke my bread, and then I branched off and got my own show with the crew. So he starts pushing this whole thing about Nuwabiya, and that I'm wrong, as if it's a big deal. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Big deal. I ain't got no problem with that. But I'm a competitive person, and I like to go head to head, horn to horn. Pause. And so I look at this thing. I finally opened it up, checked it out, investigated. I said, okay, I see a word Nuwabiya, but I don't see anything that's tying it back to York. Now, in this case, in an odd kind of way, I'm finding myself in a position to where I'm almost defending York's teachings. Imagine that. But I'll make this disclaimer. I am not here to defend the teachings of Malachi York, because that is about the most pseudo of doctrines you could ever get in America. So I just want to make sure we put that out there first. But I have to deal with the facts as they are. So we're going to get into this whole Nuwabiya thing. We're going to go to the map. We're going to go to the original map. And then we're going to break it down, and we're going to dead this issue. And of course, you can open it up for the questions for anybody, because I'm 100% confident that what I have present here tonight is going to be irrefutable. Okay, if you're going to use the Eldrisi map of 1154 as the base of your argument that York derived the word Nuwaubu from Nuwabiya, then you're going to lose, because you don't know what you're talking about. Because once I investigated it and re-investigated, I kind of liked it, because it's like, oh, this would be a new article I can put up on the website, nuwabianism.com, and start the year off, because I haven't put anything up in there quite a while. And this is going to be the one I'm going to put up there. So I'm going to have all the sources. I'm going to have the whole PowerPoint presentation is going to be put up here on the website. So yeah, I'm going to dig into it. I like it.
All right. I'm ready when you are, brother.
Before I get started, I do want to say one thing. Now, I am public enemy number 3 to the Nuwabians, of course, and I don't agree with them practically on anything. But recently, there was a brother from out of Washington, D.C., who I grew up with in terms of the community life. He recently passed. Everybody knows him as Mentu Hotep, Sadiq, Delonta Jones. He was a very prominent teacher, used to be a part of the Triad of Action Ray. That was my man. I shared a bunk with him when I first moved in as an Ansar. And he passed. And, regardless of what we accept or reject in these doctrines and what we hold on to, he was a good brother. He was a good man, family man. And I really was shocked to find out that he passed. So I'm sending my condolences to his family, his children, and to all those people who are also as close to him as I was. And I just wanted to acknowledge that before we get started.
Yeah, let me ask you a couple of more questions.
Mhm.
How long have you been Nuwapian, a part of Dr. York's?
Okay, for the record, Nuwapian as a name, Nuwabiyan, that didn't come about until around 1995. Prior to that, York had went through a metamorphosis from being chased out of Brooklyn up into the Catskill Mountains, and when the guy wrote the book, The Ansar Cult in America, that was when our doctrine changed, the dress code, everything switched, and we dropped the Nubian Islamic Hebrews to Nubian Hebrews, and then we started wearing the Judaic type of garb. The sisters took off the khimar, the veil, and started wearing the Nubi, which is basically Hindu dressing with the little dot on the head and all that stuff. And the name changed. So we went from Ansarullah Nubian Islamic Hebrews to Nubian Hebrews. Then it became Holy Tabernacle Ministries. Holy Tabernacle Ministries morphed into what was called United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, because at one time we was just HTM, and then HTM, York, after he pulled away from this whole Zechariah Sitchin Anunnaki stuff, then he started going into the Egyptian thing, and HTM, he said, stood for Heliopolis, Thebes, Memphis, and then he started branching off into the whole Egypt thing, and that's what we became known as United Nuwabian Nation of Moors. So I've been with them since 1989 up until 2011.
What was your rank next to Dr. York? What was your rank?
There's no rank because
Well,
York
you know what I mean. Like,
have
what,
that.
what position were you in?
I
Because
was I was
Harwin swear like he know your history. He's saying you was nobody in there. You know,
well.
you
I can
wasn't
show
Dr. York.
I can show you. I had 11 CDs that was put out from my debates online against Christians, Hebrew Israelites. Unc had half of them. You know,
Mm,
um, my position as a person who was a student teacher, I had a bookstore that he had me open up. I had a radio show where I was running based as support for the organization down in Georgia. Okay, so if you want to put me in a status position, I was a student teacher, and I was prominent in the North, and we would go down every Thursday to pick up supplies and get classes. So again, there's no rank, but if you want to put me at that time between 1995 and 2001, uh, Brother Idris was considered York's one of York's sons. I was
mhm.
not his right hand man. There's
Right.
only one dude that I know who was his right hand man, who we'll see shortly. His name was Bruce LaRoche. Everybody knew him as Wali. He was right there when York was being arrested and for stealing a passport that belonged to some white dude and trying to take it over so that he can assume the identity, while he and Bruce were in the police precinct in the customs. Uh, they, they they got distracted by Bruce, and then as York bolted out of the door, Bruce clipped up. Yeah, he clipped up the officers, and they eventually caught him, and then he got probation for that.
Wow, that's what's up
Yeah,
right there.
that's his right hand man. Unfortunately, yeah, that's his right hand man.
Yeah. Damn, I had another question for you.
Yeah,
But
I was just a one who taught. That was why my name was Idris. And York wanted me because he liked the battles that I was having against Christians and Hebrew Israelites. And he said, I want you to open up a store. So in the process of doing that, he just transferred, because every time we did classes in DC, Baltimore, New York, etc., you had to send audio or video down so you can make sure you're teaching what he teaches.
right.
You're
Did
not.
Dr. York ever get into any debates?
York had debates, but nothing formal. They would usually, if you come to the if you come to 717 Bushwick Avenue, house in back in it was called the Hall of Knowledge. He would, if he's not up in the booth in York Studios, he would come down and present, give classes, and of course, people step up to the mic, Sunni Muslims, whatever, and they would have their little engagement. But there was never any formal debating. No.
Okay, now, even though you're not with Dr. York's teaching anymore, if Dr. York was to debate one of the top Hebrew Israelites today, what would you think? Do you think Dr. York will smash him? Let's keep it real.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
If York went up against somebody like, and if you now you got to be careful because York was a chameleon in terms of being able to go between doctrines and pretend to be one
Right.
thing and then pop out and So if he were to present himself, let's do it this way. If he was back then, he changed his name from Imam Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi to Rabboni Yeshua al-Hadi al-Mahdi. Rabboni Yeshua Bar el-Hadi. And back then, it was the school of Judaism, as they call, which was nothing more than a getaway from the Islamic thing at the time. If he were to had gone up in, say, Zion Lex, for example, say Zion Lex came to the podium and wanted to debate York on different topics on the Bible, I think that Zion Lex would chew him up.
What? You think so?
Are you kidding me? Listen, let me tell you something. See, Zion Lex is proficient in the Hebrew language.
True.
Okay? York was not. York was not fluent in Arabic. Now, what's the brother's name? Not Michael, the one who was on the show. He had made a bet. See, here's the thing. In the community, you had teachers come in to teach the children Arabic. All right. You had Moroccan teachers, you had some Sudanese teachers, whoever we had to pay to come in and teach the kids. Now, York's son, one of them, his name was Yadalahi. May he rest in peace. Yadalahi, he was fluent. York was good at memorizing surahs from the Quran. So at various times, he would always recite the same thing when he's making it, but you never saw York having a dialogue with an Arabic-speaking person. Okay? So if he were to battle somebody like Zion Lex, he would get smoked, as they say. If he were to talk about this whole Anunnaki thing and the Sumerians, I would smoke him.
Okay.
If you study a particular teaching, or you were a certified scholar in that field of study, you would dust him, because the majority of York's teachings is absolutely pseudo. It's absolutely garbage if you're studying academically. But if you love the man and you love his presentation, because he was an absolutely massive, charismatic individual. When he was doing the music thing, Dr. York, the music man, the love man, absolute charisma. When he went on tour with Delphonics and Blue Magic, all these guys, he was magic. He was a love man. But that's all for show. He was a showman. And much of that is what we see whenever we see him lecturing. It's all for show. A lot of the questions that we would ask, we were given a script on what to ask him. For whatever reason, if it's to promote a new book or transfer the doctrine over, that's where we went.
What do you think about, last question, and then you could go into your presentation. What do you think about Harwin saying that he knows the language? He knows the language of the netters, of the netterus.
You mean
He can speak the language.
Medunetter?
Yeah, of the Medunetter. No. All right, we know he can read the Medunetter, but he said he can also speak the language. What do you think about that?
I can't comment on it because I don't study that language.
Right.
So
right.
I wouldn't want to put anything disparaging out on him in regards to that. Now, from what I have seen, yeah, he's good as far as reading the literature. And I commend any brother that can do that. thumbs up to him on that. See, I don't
Okay.
have any animosity towards him. You know, it started off. Maybe I was wrong when he inboxed me, and I told him to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
Nah, you wasn't wrong. Sometimes he could be like a mosquito, a pest, man.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean that's
instead
what
of
I'm.
coming across humble, you would have gave him an opportunity, gave him a shot. But he's coming across like he's bigger and better than anybody.
Yeah, I mean,
You
like
know?
I said, you know, I've dealt with so many people from the '90s all the way up. I done debated people who were up high, who were down low.
Right.
Did it every day on the street. I did it in the studio. So, you know, I'm like this. It's look. I'm not even gonna go into all the politics of it. You know, since that day that I did the presentation on Sumerian, and then the question was asked about me and he and I debating, I was for it. I said it. I even
Yeah.
told him. I said, I'll pay sa.neter to
Right.
debate you.
That's
You know,
right.
I'm not putting up a bag because I don't pay other people to debate them. You know, so that's
Mhm.
how I carried it. And for those those 3 months, those 3 months, nothing manifests other than
Right.
excuse, a possible this, possible that. People and I'm in no speed because I'm sitting up here collecting data, studying, getting more because I want to get to the essence of this Nuwabiya thing. Because I want to make sure that if he's right, I gotta say, hey, I was wrong. Congratulations. Out of
All
the
right.
360 questions asked Nuwapian, you got one right. But
Damn.
won't be happening tonight.
All right. Go ahead, brother. I pass you the mic and you got the floor and it's on you.
All right. Let me get my thing together because I've been sitting up here talking for a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. A little bit rusty. So, and you can hear me clear. Yes.
Yes, I can hear you clear.
Solid. Let's go. Let me know when you can see it.
All right. It's up and running. Everybody can see it.
All right. So here we go. It's showtime. So let me first start by saying good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, sa.neter, for allowing me to bring clarity and context via this PowerPoint presentation. My position is very narrow. The question is not whether Nuwabiya existed, nor whether Al-Idrisi recorded a place by that name. The question is whether the evidence demonstrates that Malachi York derived the term Nuwaubu from that place name. My position is the evidence doesn't support the claim. So tonight, we'll examine York's lectures, his publications to determine how he explained the origins of the word Nuwaubu. If York himself never derived Nuwaubu from Nuwabiya, then the claim has never been demonstrated. So tonight, let's examine the primary sources in chronological order and allow Dr. York to explain his terminology. Exhibit A, we're going to deal with 1990, the New Covenant, audio video. Exhibit B, 1993, Nuwaubu and Amanubi Ra'akata. Exhibit C, 96, the Holy Tablets, the section on Nuwaubu. And Exhibit D, let's set the record straight, and Idrisi dynasty. And remember, if York derived Nuwaubu from Nuwabiya, then we should expect for him to say so. Exhibit A. The earliest documented use of the term Nuwaubu by Malachi York appears in his June 26, 1990 birthday lecture, later released on audio and video as The New Covenant, where he says, and I quote, "They will now pull us out of right knowledge and blind us." Right knowledge is called Nuwaubu. You can pull this up to this day on YouTube. You can go to timestamp 3207 through 3208. Very short, but that was the first time he ever used it. And then York informs us about this Nuwaubu being right knowledge from 1990 to 2003 with slight innovations. And York would maintain his explanations of Nuwaubu, however, not mentioning Nuwaubu being from Nuwabiya or the Al-Idrisi map. Oh, by the way, that's Bruce LaRoche right there. That was his right hand man. But he eventually disappeared when certain allegations started to manifest involving his kids. 1991, I went out of my way to make a language for us, which is Nuwapic. It combines Syriac and Aramic, and it's simple. Anybody can learn it. Malachi York, the New Covenant. That's important because possibly we may go into it if we have time, if there's a question that's based around it, but keep that in mind. Also, in 1993, right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are Nuwaubu. And Nuwaubu is the spiritual science of all woolly-haired people throughout the universes. Breaking the Spell, page 23. I put together our own tongue out of our original language, which was taken from us. It has three forms. One works like Arabic, it's called Nubic. The other is like hieroglyphics, it's called Nuwabic. And finally, the Riz script, Riz is the planet that you all claim to have come from. The Riz script, which we also call Nuwabic. This is in the Nuwabic Teacher's Guide. In 1995, the ancient Egyptians were taught by the Sumerians, who were taught by the Anunnaki Elohim, who came from the skies. Then we, as ancient Nubians, whose spiritual science is Nuwaubu, this form of writing became known as cuneiform, which was the language of the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki originally spoke Nuwapic. And as time passed, it became known first as cuneiform, later Ashuric, Syriac, Akkadian, etc. Malachi York, Ancient Egypt and the Pharaohs, pages 19 and 20. You can see why I say the pseudoism comes in. I bet the chat is going nuts. And then it says, I'll give it to you in Arabic first, then English for you. Nawaba or Nuwaubu, from where you get the word Nebi for prophet, Nebuah for one who has a vision to predict the future. The word Nuwabian is a plural form of that Nebian, those people who are messengers themselves. Listen, audience, to the various forms and understandings and philosophies of what Nuwaubu is according to York. Let's continue. In 1999, under the rule of Nimrod, and everyone within that nation of people spoke one language, and that language was Nuwapic, ancient Egypt mystery language. And you'll find that in the Luciferian conspiracy. And in 2003, while York was in jail, this is Nuwaubu would mean Nuwapians, as the U on the end is a plural for living things. So you see, Nuwaubu or Wu Nuwap, we say is right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. It's all factual knowledge, all factual wisdom, and all factual over and understanding, both finite and infinite. This is one of the letters from Malachi York's sister Dale York, published in her book called My Brother, the Extraterrestrial by Dale York, page 39. You can pull this all up on Scrib. So, as you can see across every explanation, one thing remains absent. York never derives Nuwaubu from Nuwabiya. Even before York introduced the term Nuwaubu in 1990, he had already published an entire manual explaining his earlier Sudanese-based language project, Nubic, the language of the Nubian Americans. Throughout this 1989 booklet, York grounds the language in Arabic writing, pronunciation, and the Nubian identity. No mention of Nuwabiya or Ali Idrisi's map in this book. But you'll find you'll see a consistent message when you find most of these books. It's all there, as you'll see on this page. The Arabic word nub, according to Lyon's Arabic lexicon, means of a color inclining to black, or as likened to a nation of Negroes called Nuba, the people of which is the Nubians. Exhibit B, York continues to use the same system as previous example shows. Here, York claims to derive Nuwaubu from the Arabic root word nub, nun wow be. Let me put my scripture up here. The letter nun wow be. Again, citing the Lyons Arabic English lexicon, but further explains it through the abjad numerology or the supreme mathematics. And throughout all of this, he doesn't mention anything about Nuwaubu being derived from Nuwabiya. And we can just touch on it real quick. We can start here. We can say, what language did the word Nuwaubu come from? Answer. Nuwaubu is an ancient Nubian word, which is right knowledge, right wisdom, and a right understanding, finite and infinite, etc. The Ashuric Syriac Arabic root word nub means of or inclining to black. Then he starts to get down into the heavy stuff. He starts in there, of course, reading from right to left, Nuwaubu. And then he points out nub. You have the Arabic letters nun, waw, and be. And they start getting through the abjad numerical value, etc. And then we get over here where it says that things will begin at this renewal point in our history for the pristine purity of Al-Islam called Nuwaubu. I'll repeat that. Things will begin at this renewal point in our history for the pristine purity of Al-Islam called Nuwaubu. The sacred three letters Nun Waw Be giving us the word Nuwaubu. So York describes Nub as Ashuric, Syriac, Arabic, which may give the impression that there are several linguistic traditions supporting his etymology. However, the only lexical authority he cites is Lyons' Arabic English lexicon. No Syriac dictionary, no Assyrian lexical source, nor any Nubian language source is provided. Lyons' Arabic entries do not define the word or the root nub as right knowledge, nor do they list Nuwaubu as an Arabic derivative. Thus, York cited evidence does not establish his claimed definition of Nuwaubu as an ancient Nubian word. And most importantly, Nuwaubu is not the Arabic lexical form cited by Land, and York provides no Arabic dictionary source that records Nuwaubu as meaning right knowledge. This is the Lyons Arabic English lexicon. There are 17 entries that fall under the root nun, waw, and be. These are all the words. If you go to the website, you go to the Lyons Arabic Dictionary website, and you clap on each one, not one of them will tell you that a word derived, any word that's derived is all here. It's all here. Nuwaubu is not one of them. So we know that York has been a deceiver since he got on parole in 1968, because the hustle at the time was Islam and writing books or pamphlets at that time, like Jehovah's Witnesses. So that was his hustle, and he was able to hold on to it all the way up until his incarceration. This here, if you go to the source where he claimed, it's not there. So move on from that. The Arabic root nub produces meanings associated with reoccurrence, taking turns, substitution, deputies, misfortune. Land does not define this root nun, waw, ba, or any form shown here as right knowledge, right wisdom, or right understanding. Nor does Land list Nuwaubu, Nuwabiya, or Nuwabiya as recognized derivatives of the root. The connection between nub and right knowledge comes from York's own made up interpretation, not from the Arabic lexical source. And you can here's one that I opened up. You can look at it. Nun waw be. Right here, you'll see the abundant good that comes again and again by turns. This is how it's all used in sentences and in many cases even in the Quran. So I needed to put that up there so anyone who listens to that, Nuwaubu comes from the Lyons Arabic English lexicon, it's not there. That's my point. Here again, York states that Nuwaubu comes from the root nub, and then he associates another derivative, nubuwa, with prophethood or prophecy. His explanation is therefore based on a claimed root relationship and related theological vocabulary, not on a geographical toponym or place name. But no evidence is presented that Nuwaubu derives from Nuwabiya or from the Al-Idrisi map. And we can just look at it real fast. Here's right here on page 33 into 34. The root of the word Nuwaubu is a derivative of the Ashuric Syriac Arabic word nub. Another derivative of nub is nubuwa, which means prophethood, prophecy. Nubuwa can also be found in Aramaic, Hebrew, nebuwa, a prediction, teaching, from the root word nub, to sprout or to germinate. Nuban, which in cuneiform means before the light, presenter of news. That's false. And this is one of the games York plays. He'll do things like this. He won't give you. He'll just generally say Nuban, which in cuneiform means, well, there's cuneiform. You had the Akkadians who used cuneiform. You had the Hittites who used the cuneiform. You had the Amartu who used it. You had a whole number of people who used cuneiform, but you can't trace it back because he didn't give you that. That was intentional. Yeah. So just as I mentioned earlier about where I'll give it to you first, Arabic and then English, Nebuah, and on and on. We already went over that. So let's go to Exhibit C. We now turn to York's most important work on the so-called Holy Tablet. Here, York expands the earlier definition of Nuwaubu into a comprehensive religious and philosophical doctrine. This is very important because if you ever had any doubts about how York viewed or saw this term and what it meant to him as far as doctrine is concerned, this is where you go. In chapter 10, the chapter called Nuwaubu, he explains it. It's right here. You can go to page 883 of the Holy Tablets. And just as from line, you can start at line 6, 8, 20, and 24. Nuwaubu is the science of sound right reasoning. 8. Nuwaubu is right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. 20. The first step to Nuwaubu is right knowledge. 24. Nuwaubu is the science of experience, evidence, and reason. By this point, York has defined Nuwaubu repeatedly in lectures, books, and in his principal religious texts, the Holy Tablets, which he said that when it came out, he said this was the book that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad prophesied about. In every explanation, because it's conceptual, theological, or derived from the Arabic language, nothing here about Nuwabiya or the Al-Idrisi map. And this is what we used to use all the time, because when we were leaving religion and started pretending to be atheists, this is what our manual was. The first step to Nuwaubu is right knowledge, which will pass any one of the 3 tests. That is practical for knowledge given. One cannot always use the experience test because experience test is not practical for all knowledge. Evidence and reason tests are those tests which are more often practical. Yet Nuwaubu is the science of experience, evidence, and reason. Yeah. Exhibit D. This is from a book that we were heavily into being, at this time we were called the Nuwabian Nation of Moors. This is Exhibit D. And on page 19 of that publication, we read where York says, the Nubans, or Nuwabians, come from Nuba, a country in southern Sudan, which included Ethiopia, originally called Aksum, Uganda, and Kenya. They are the original non-ether woolly-haired beings, descendants of the Anunnaki. In the Nubians language, Nuba is said to mean gold. Nub or Nub is the root word of Nabi, Nubians, and Nuwabians. It means color inclining to black. And like I said, this is why I would say York, well, he'll give you maybe 1% of some truth and then give you the rest pseudoism. So he distinguishes two claims. Nuba allegedly means gold, while Nub and Nub means color inclining to black, and serves as a root of Nebi, Nubians, and Nuwabians. Whatever the validity of those claims isn't the point. That's all I'm saying. It's not the point. The point is, York does not derive Nuwaubu from Nuwabiya or the Al-Idrisi map. Let that sink in. We were going through this stuff, and I'm almost finished because this is not a super long presentation. But still, we don't see anything that helps that argument. Also, in that, let's set the record straight, on page 17, York briefly discusses the Idrisis. Yet he never mentions Nuwabiya or the Ali Idrisi map in conjunction with Nuwaubu. Instead, he continues presenting a convoluted historical and theological narrative unrelated to Nuwaubu being derived from Nuwabiya. So across the corpus of Malachi York literature, he gives a series of explanations for Nuwaubu. In one book, he'll associate Nub with gold. In another, he'll derive Nuwaubu from the root word Nub. Elsewhere, he defines Nuwaubu conceptually as experience, evidence, and reason. Regardless of which explanation anybody holds, none demonstrates that he derived Nuwaubu from Nuwabiya or the Al-Idrisi map being mentioned. And that's central to the topic. That's the core of the argument. And if anybody wanted to have debated this, it'd have been a loss. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Let me get my drink. Hold on. All right. So, as stated earlier, only a minority few Nuwabians will rely on an unknown non-peer reviewed booklet called Nuwabiya, the Nuba of the East and their westward migrations by a cat named Emery A. King. Emery King proposed a connection between Nuwabiya and Napata. However, he does not derive the term Nuwaubu from either. That conclusion is from ambitious, misinformed Nuwabians. Of course, we know the word Nuwaubu is from the Ashuric Syriac root word Nub, the sacred three letters Nub, Wow, Ba, giving us the word Nuwaubu. In his 2023 and 2025 works, Emery King makes the following claims, and I'm going to read it. Considering the claim that Nuwabiya is south of Dongola, it may be concluded that exact location of Nuwabiya is what is commonly referred to as Napata. The Nuwabiya of Abu al-Idrisi is undoubtedly the Nuwabiya, Napata, of dynastic Egypt. Napata is oftentimes called Nippy, if I get the tone, Nippy, within various pharaonic Egyptian texts. Nuwabiya appears to be a variation of Nippy, which when reconstructed becomes Nuwabiya. Migrations from Nuwabiya, Moro, Kush is also mentioned by A.J. Arkell, historian A.J. Arkell, also mentions the people of Meroe, Sudan, and their migrations westward to establish the kingdom of Bornu. And the other one, he says that Idrisi was merely regurgitating the historical findings of other or older geographers. Nub, the root Nub that composes the term Nuwabiya, is found in ancient Egyptian writings for places that predate the dynastic era. Now, Ali Idrisi places Nuwaba 4 days from the Nile, whereas Napata lay within the Nile Valley at Jebel Bakr, as I'll show you shortly. Now, King's identification is asserted rather than demonstrated. His argument, Emery King's argument, also shifts between two different derivatives. Nub being Nuwabiya and Nipi being Nuwapiya, using two different consonantal sequences, each requiring independent evidence, which he doesn't show. Got that? Here we go. This is a reconstruction of Ali Idrisi's map that was first displayed on the show that I did, which was on the Sumerians back in April of 2026. The map documents a toponym, Nuwabiya, or place name, but it doesn't establish that Nuwabiya was Napata or that York derived Nuwaubu from it. Now here we go. This is the one. This is the controversial map in question that everybody was having. I saw that show y'all was doing. It was hilarious. No, this is not something that Dr. York made up. It's not. No, this is like a little. Well, there's another map. This is just a basic general, I guess, whoever put it together, because it doesn't tell you exactly who did this. This is part of a larger map that is extremely detailed. But if you look closely at it, each one of these toponyms are in Arabic, or these are transliterations using the Latin script, as you can clearly see. And it tells you right here, the simplified extract from the large map by Ali Idrisi, 1154, after the reconstruction of Conrad Miller, in talking about Monument on page 867. All right, so here's that map. This is the one that everybody is like, well, I want to see the map. And right here, that I have highlighted, you see Nuwabiya. Nuwabiya. Keep this in mind. You see this word Nuwabiya. Here's a bigger map. Here is Conrad Miller's full composite reconstruction of Ali Idrisi's 12th century world atlas. It renders the medieval place names in Latin letters and preserves Ali Idrisi's geographical tradition. Here is the map. But I still don't see how they were able to take the map and then how somehow this is linked back to York, because York never mentioned this map. So anyway, this is the map. This is the big deal. This is the big controversial thing. End of story. That's the map. And that concludes tonight's presentation. Psych. All right. Muhammad Abu Ali Idrisi divided his world atlas into 7 climate zones. This is important. Each divided into 10 sections, producing 70 sectional maps. Conrad Miller's later assembled those sections into a single north-oriented composite reconstruction and rendered many Arabic toponym place names in Latin lettering. Here's a modern depiction. This is I got it from the black and white image, but I used Google AI to colorize it. So here's the simplified extract based on Conrad Miller's reconstruction, and this is the corresponding section from Miller's composite. If you look here, this is the exact section. Look closely. I want everybody to notice this right here. You see this? You see the stream here coming from the marsh area? Yeah, that is the exact same thing. But you see the heavier detail? You see the great detail here? Yeah. So anyway, the simplified diagram removes most of the surrounding geographic details found in Miller's larger reconstruction. When the broader context is restored, neither map identifies Nuwaubu or Nuwabiya with York's term Nuwaubu. And please note, Nuwabiya is Miller's Latin script map rendering reconstructed. And Nuwabiya is Emery King's preferred expanded form of a so-called reconstruction. Oh, but yes, this is the primary evidence versus reconstruction. So above here, this is one of the sections of the Arabic manuscript of Al-Idrisi, right here. And this is one of the oldest. And if you look closely, you'll see that this is all in Arabic. This is from Al-Idrisi himself. This is the 1928 Latin script composite that was reconstructed by Conrad Miller, which is what this was based on. This is good, absolutely good, absolutely. It supersedes this. And what's very noticeable is you see Nuwabiya here. You don't find Nuwabiya as it's transliterated here on the 1926 map. And if you look closely, where is it? Oh, by the way, anybody, if you can, write this source down. The Library of Congress, Wilcardi des Idrisi vom Jar, 1154. If you go there, well, you can always freeze this later and go to it. That's where you see the full map, and you can zoom in, extreme detail. You can see the pimples on the paper. That's how close you can zoom in. Now, here's a close-up of it. You'll see, where is it? Right here. You'll see Nuwabiya. Nuwabiya. You see that? Nuwabiya. Now, remember what we said. Considering the claim, I don't know who claimed this, considering the claim that Nuwabiya is south of Dongola, it may be, because it's not sure, it may be concluded that exact location of Nuwabiya is what is commonly referred to as Napata. The Nuwabiya of Al-Idrisi is undoubtedly the Nuwabiya Napata reconstructed. If you see this little asterisk, that's a reconstruction. I mean, it's hypothetical. Hypothetical. That's when you see, whenever you see that, always know when you see that, it's hypothetical. That's like when I put it on Dr. York. When I put it before Dr. York, I always make it as hypothetical. It's not accurate, or it's a hypothesis. King moves from the broad location south of Dongola to an exact identification with Napata. Yet Al-Idrisi text names the settlement Nuwaubu and places it 4 days from the Nile, while Napata lay within the Nile Valley at Jebel Bakal. The proposed chain, Nuwabiya, Nipi, Nuwabiya, is asserted but not demonstrated. It's asserted but not demonstrated. Now, this is where we get into some detail, because one thing I got to give credit where credit is due. One thing that York taught us, as we were Ansars at least, is you got to go to the deep-rooted part of the source, get to the essence of the source when you're debating people. He didn't always follow that principle, but I do appreciate at least he did that part. So the Al-Idrisi Arabic text contradicts Emery King's identification. Al-Idrisi identifies the settlement as Nuwaubu. Nuwaubu. Spelled Nun, Waw, Alif, Ba, Tarmabuta. And it's Madinat, Wa Minha illa al-Nile, I spent 25 years. Arba'atu Ayam. The city of Nuwaubu And from there to the Nile are 4 days. Al-Idrisi's Arabic manuscript reads Nuwaba. Miller's detailed map rendering the place name as Nuwabiya. Emery King proposes the reconstructed form Nuwabiya. You can go to the source. Al-Idrisi Nuzhat al-Mushtaq Mustaqfi Aktirak al-Akhf. It's been a long time. Akhfaq. I can't remember how to pronounce that. But you go to that third section of the first climate, and you'll have it right there. And that's in folio 15. That's where you see right here. This is the number 15. It's right here. This is the writing of Al-Idrisi himself commenting about the word, the place called Nuwaba. Nuwaba, not Nuwabiya. There's no Ia in this. It's not there in Arabic. That's not what he wrote. It's right here. It's not there. That's not what he wrote. Madinat, which is the city. Madinat means that Madinat Nuwabiya. Here we go. Now, line 3. If you go here, 1, 2, 3, you work your way down, you'll come right to it. And the third line, right there. So the first occurrence of Nuwaubu, it says, Wamin Madinat Tajwa illa Madinat Nuwaba. And from the city of Tajwa to the city of Nuwaba. Line 18, which is the second, well, let me go over here. Line 5, which speaks about that 4-day journey. And from there to the Nile are 4 days. Wa minha ila el-na arba'atu ayyam. Line 18, the second occurrence, is because it's only mentioned in the book. And I'll show you the book. I'm going to pull the book up later on, where anybody can go into it and verify. This is the primary source of Al-Idrisi and his map. Not this thing. Not that. That ain't it. So anyway, the second occurrence, you says, Wamin, Wow, Min, Madinat Nuwaba. Wamin, Madinat Nuwaba. And from the city of Nuwaba. And there's the other letters right there. Nun, Wa, Alif, Ba, Tar, Mabuta. Now you can freeze this when you want to go back over it. The page comes from Al-Idrisi's geographical work. It's called The Excursion of the One Who Yearns to Penetrate the Horizons. The Library of Congress catalogs the surviving manuscripts as Al-Idrisi's work. The copy I'm showing is this here. The oldest known surviving manuscript copy. The original work itself was compiled by Al-Idrisi in 1154. Here's the Arabic of it. You can freeze this and go for it from there. The transliteration of it, where you want to walk through it through the transliteration. And of course, you can read the translation of that whole text. From the city of Manan to the city of Tajwa are 13 stages. Tajwa is the principal city of the land of the Tajwin. They are magicians who profess no religion, and their territory adjoins the land of Nubia. Among their settlements is Samna. The city of Samna is a small city. Some travelers to the towns of Kawar related that the rulers of Balak went to Samna, he being an official appointed by the king of Nubia, and burned it, destroyed it, and scattered its inhabitants throughout the regions. It is now in ruins. From the city of Tajwa to it are 6 stages. And from the city of Tajwa to the city of Nuwaba are 18 stages. The Nubians are associated with it and became known by it. It is a small city. and its inhabitants are prosperous. Their clothing consists of tan hides, woolen waste. From it to the Nile are